what policies should you have in place then in relation to any of these issues? So there are different procedures that would apply in relation to bullying, different procedures that would apply in relation to harassment, and the same goes for grievances. So I suppose there should be a separate policy in place for each of these issues. Okay, and obviously, I suppose that's one of the things that we would do. We have a documentation team, so our service departments are split in three. We have health and safety experts, we have employment law advice experts, and then we have a specific team that deal with policies and procedures, and they would help, I suppose, put together any of those policies that you would require. So I suppose it's important the policies that are in place. It's not just for legal reasons or for compliance. It's important that everybody knows in the workplace what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, what's expected of them, and then if something does happen, how do they get recourse? How do they try to prevent issues from reoccurring, and who do they need to talk to? And I suppose a lot of the things that have come out in relation to the new code of practice on bullying, which was released last year, and there's also a new code of practice released on harassment, which came out in March 2022. So it's, I suppose, emphasised in those that employers are required to put preventative measures in place to try to prevent instances of bullying, prevent instances of harassment. So I suppose there's a lot of emphasis placed on that, on training in the workplace and things like that. And I suppose if you have the policies and procedures in place, everybody knows what the definition of bullying would be, harassment, and I suppose what would happen in cases where anything like that might arise. Okay, so I suppose what policies should you have in place? As I said, there should be a different one for each of the issues. So there should be a bullying policy to deal with instances and complaints of bullying. There should be a harassment policy for dealing with complaints of harassment. Also, it's important that a safety statement is prepared based on an assessment of the risk of bullying. So I mentioned a little bit earlier on that the Code of Practice on Bullying was released in conjunction with the Workplace Relations Commission and the Health and Safety Authority. So I suppose that's a really important consideration to take into account. So bullying obviously can have very negative impact on people's mental health, so it can be considered a health and safety concern. In fact, in relation to the new Code of Practice that was released, if an employee makes a complaint of bullying in the workplace and it's not dealt with, the employee can actually refer it to the Health and Safety Authority for investigation. And if it's found that the employer didn't, I suppose, comply with their obligations and their duties to their employee, that investigation file can be sent to the DPP, and people could be potentially subject to prosecution. So I suppose it's really important, because there are health and safety considerations in relation to bullying as well, that I suppose the policies and procedures are in place and that they are followed. And obviously, as I mentioned earlier, we do have a health and safety team, so they do assist as well, obviously, with the risk assessments and making sure that the preventative measures from a health and safety perspective are put in place for our clients also. Okay, and also I suppose, I was asked at a seminar recently, how long should a handbook be, or how many pages should it contain? So in relation to policies and procedures that are in place in the workplace, it's important that they're active, that they're communicated. There's no point in having something that's a couple of hundred pages that's written in language that's legalistic and that people don't understand. The policies and procedures should be clear. They should be easy to understand, and there should be training delivered in relation to them as well, so that everybody knows what's expected of them and how to conduct themselves in the workplace.